and welcome back to this Championship Penitentiary here at Salmon's Pizzeria. It is once again myself, Callum, your host, and this time around it is just Enzo. Enzo, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks. Yeah, doing well. Quite an interesting week and a bit in the championship. So I think we've got a lot to talk about, including two managerial appointments. Because I know that we discussed some rumours last week, but nothing had actually been confirmed. And now they have been, and obviously a few interesting results around the league too. So curious to hear your thoughts on a few bits and pieces. It's a shame that there's only 2 games this weekend because 3 of them got called off due to the majority of teams having a few, what was it, mostly under 21s, under 19s
Yeah.
internationalists. I was a little bit frustrated that our game got called off. I had a few people that were planning on coming along to it. Well, if they could get tickets for a game at Lesser Hampden against Partick Thistle, that is. But yeah, looking forward to getting into the detail.
There's definitely a fair amount to talk about from this past weekend. So to start off with, we have the big one, the Penitentiary Derby, and it is Partick Thistle at home to Raith Rovers, the big one, obviously. And going into this, Raith on a very long unbeaten league run. I think it was up to 14 games, I believe, after we beat Dunfermline the week before. Thistle, meanwhile, they got a good win, and it's really starting to get the season going. And um, I was not happy with this one, especially after the first 15 minutes.
Okay, that's
But
understandable.
yeah, it was just Partick just raced out to a 2-goal lead like really quickly. Tony Watt at the back post 7 minutes in, and Aidan Fitzpatrick with a deflected effort, which if it wasn't deflected, it was straight at Josh Ray. But that's just what it is. But yeah, it's like at that point. Funny enough, with like all the traffic and whatnot, is I took the train in and went to Munster Kieran beforehand, whereas my brother and his friends were driving through, and they missed. I think they missed the first goal, but it's like they came in like just before the second, and I just messaged him just saying, "Go home." It was not a good start. It was good. It's like watching the highlights. It's good play. It's good play from Fessel, but it's like my God, we did not start that game well. But it was we didn't really do anything aside from one incident that we will come to at the end of this game because I have some things to say. But yeah, it was just a turgid start for Rafe. But these 2 goals did wake us up. We remembered how to be a football team, and very quickly, the cooperation agreement comes in handy with a penalty to Raith Rovers.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a pretty regular occurrence these days, Callum. I feel as though it's basically every single week you're hearing about Raith getting a penalty.
I know it's really funny. It must be really annoying for everyone else, but it's really funny for me how it's just like it's fine. We'll get a penalty at some point somehow. But it's like it was a Stonewall, that one. It was a Stonewall penalty, and Easton converts it as he does. And then 10 minutes later, McMullen manages to round the keeper, but he's at the byline, cuts it back, Ross Mullen, and it's 2-2 all of a sudden. And it's like, oh, hold on a minute. Is
Yeah.
this happening again? Because it was like a couple, not last season, but the season before. It was the one where we challenged Dundee United for the title. We went 2-0 down at Thistle in the opening game of the season, and then brought it back to 2-all. And so it was just
Yeah.
like, is this happening again?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that season. Wraith were pretty good in general at coming back from being behind, and especially with late goals. I unfortunately experienced it quite frequently as a Queens Park fan because he did it I think 2 or 3 times to us.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit surprised because when I saw, obviously, I was at our game at the same time, but when I saw the Thistle had gone 2 up, I thought that could be a bit of a disaster. It could be, a bit of a hammer in here. So to see it, you'll be pulled back to 2 each. I'm thinking, oh, the momentum shifted here. There's only one team who's realistically going to win it at this stage, but obviously you're going to tell us why that didn't happen now, Kel.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. So there were plenty of opportunities for both teams, but Rafe very much had the momentum going into halftime, and it is just like it went from a case of my God, I want to go home already to we could very much win this game here,
Yeah.
and um, that didn't happen because Dylan Easton. So it's like there was it's like the ball was just sort of bouncing around at the edge of the box, and it was up in the air, and Easton went to hit it back towards one of the defenders or the goalkeeper, and he placed it perfectly in between in a gap where there was a Partick Thistle player who just cuts it across, and Fitzpatrick taps it home. And despite chances for both teams, Thistle, they do hold out for a win. And I fear that the main talking point, and I can guarantee you, Kieran would be if he was here. Unfortunately, evidently he's not here. That's because I chucked him in the canal. But but if Kieran was here to talk about it, I think he would agree with me with this. My God, that referee was awful. It was
Okay, fair
not.
enough.
It's like neither. It was not good for either side. It's like there was points where it's just like Thistle should have got like free kicks, and Raith should have got bookings here, and it's like the main points that I've got here are the penalty the penalty talking points just for Raith, because there wasn't really any for Thistle that I can really remember, or like watching the highlights. There wasn't really any shouts, but with Raith, so when it was 1-0 Thistle, there's one where McMullen gets bundled over.
Okay.
And for me, that one wasn't really a penalty. It's like at the time I was screaming for it.
Of course, yeah, you're always going to clinch
At the time, I was
fact that it's
screaming
not.
for the penalty for all of these.
Obviously.
But as you do, but it's like watching back, it's a case of, so it's like with the McMullen one, he's bundled over, but the thing is, it's like McMullen's like quite small, and it doesn't look like there's that much in it. And it's like he gets up straight away, and we get a corner and whatnot. But it's like it would have been one that would have been quite soft. Like I've seen them given, but I'm not entirely convinced. And then there was another one where Easton, he does get pushed a bit when trying to go for a header, but again, it is soft. You then have the one which was very much a penalty, the Stonewaller, where McMullen's fouled from behind, where I think there's like this new double. I say new. I think it's been a thing for a few years now, but it's like double jeopardy, where it's like you can't send someone off for last man if it's in the penalty box or
That's
something like
right,
that.
yeah, yeah. One
So
of these
it's
rules that
like
still confuses me since they changed it, to be honest with
I
you. I
know
get it, but
I'm
I'm
still
not
there. It's
100%.
like at the game, it's just like why is that not a red? How is that
Yeah,
not a red? Man, and it's just like oh wait, the double jeopardy thing. I hate it. I hate it in situations like this.
yeah.
But yeah, that one was a very obvious one. But then probably the biggest one has to be the one with Lewis Vaughan.
Yep. I've seen it. I'll let you share your opinion first, and then I'll tell you what I think.
I think he's clipped,
Okay.
but I don't think it's a foul.
Right.
I
Okay. I
don't
see what
think
you're saying.
it's like there is contact there on his foot, so it's like it's one of those where it's like there's contact, but it's not a foul, but it's also not a. It's probably more of a dive, but not like a Stonewall dive or whatever. But it's like if Vaughan stays on his feet, he scores.
Well,
It's there's no
that was
way
my
to put it about
main
that. He scores if he stays on his feet.
that was my main takeaway. I think. I mean, do you not think you could still have got a shot away
Oh, I
despite having
absolutely.
been
It's like
clipped? That would
he
be my
passed his man. He was
frustration.
past Ashcroft. He like
Yeah.
wrong footed him, and it was a free hit, a goal, pretty much.
Yep.
So it does baffle me how he did like go down. It is something that it's like the one part of Vaughan that I don't like, and it's how easy he sometimes goes down in
Yeah.
situations like that.
I mean, I'm not sure if I wonder. I mean, it's one of these ones where, as well, you know what it's like. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but referees are probably less likely to give you another penalty if you've already had one in the same game, especially if it's quite an important. But that's not how it should work. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that people they are sometimes
If
influenced
I
by
was at Stars, I
things
think we
like
get
this.
given it because we're not in Glasgow. And, it's the Glasgow Football Association and
I,
all that sort of
I wish, I
stuff.
wish, I wish it worked that way. I do, I really do. But unfortunately, that's not something that I've experienced over the years. Honestly, I have seen the Vaughan incident, and for me, my biggest frustration, if I were a Wraith fan, would be just have a shot. You've still got the opportunity to have a shot and probably score a goal. Lewis Vaughan's a fantastic finisher. We all know
Yeah.
that he can take these opportunities, and I don't fully understand why he didn't. I don't know why he didn't. Um, There probably was a degree of contact. I think I agree with your assessment of it in general, to be honest with you. Like, it's one of those ones where if they give it, you're going, well, maybe fair enough. Maybe we got away with one a wee bit. But the frustration from a Wraith perspective should be directed at the player. And I think Vaughan is a bit of a diver. I'm
Yeah,
not sure you would necessarily agree with that,
we've
but
got Vaughan and Easton.
yes, yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I find Wraith quite an unpleasant team to play against. I think in general over the years, Wraith are a team that I find go down quite easily, and it is primarily due to those two guys. Let's be honest. I mean, Easton's really good at winning penalties, but at the same time, there comes a point as well where referees who get to know these players maybe get a little bit wise to it as well. Now, maybe that's
Mm.
not fully started happening given that you've had about 15 so far this season or whatever it is, but it is going to potentially have an influence on future decisions as well if refs know, okay, that guy hits the deck quite easily. I'm not sure. But yeah, Vaughan should still be scoring there. That's the key point, I think.
Yeah, it's like when you say about the penalties, it's like a vast majority of the ones that we do get are pretty much stonewallers. But it's like with those, as you say, it's like when it comes to um like the 50-50s, of course, with the reputation that Vaughan and Easton have,
Yeah.
there is going to be that bit of doubt in referees' minds where it's just like, well, he's got a bit of a reputation for this and that, so I'm just not going to give it, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is
And
something that, I mean, it
you also have,
works. It
well,
works.
that's
Don't get
it,
me
yeah.
wrong, but
And
but
you
yeah,
also
I
have to
don't believe
factor
it.
in you also have to factor in the fact that a lot of referees at this level are unfortunately just rubbish too. So they're going to get
Oh yeah,
decisions
absolutely.
wrong regardless. That's also a key element of this whole conversation.
Yeah, it is. It does make you wonder. It's just like if there was VAR, would Rafe get more penalties because of situations like this, or would Rafe end up getting less?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad we don't have it, but it's certainly that there are times where when things go against you, you sort of think, oh, it would be nice if we had some way of not challenging it, but if there was some way that somebody would step in and say, "Well, hold on, you've not quite got that right there." But VAR ultimately, and I know that's a whole separate conversation that has been had on the Premiership podcast a few times, I'm sure. But VAR has certainly been a factor in I think the standard of refereeing in the Championship going downhill as well as referees are being promoted. So from the Championship, refs have been promoted to help out, given that they need additional officials in the top tier. So we've had guys being promoted to this level who maybe aren't quite cut out for it. And unfortunately, we are seeing. I mean, I feel as though, listen, people complain about refs all the time. I do it every single week, right? But I think objectively speaking, we are seeing poorer performances across the board from them now as well.
Yeah, I believe that was something that me and Kieran brought up a good few times
Yeah,
last season in the podcast, and when I did my video on VAR, I did talk about the effect that it has had on lower league officiating.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like plenty of referees who would. I mean, like this is one of those games where you wouldn't be surprised if someone who normally referees a Premiership match gets put in. You know, it's just like these are. It's like we're two of the top teams in the Championship, so it's like that along with the derbies as well. That's when we'll typically see
we had
people beaten and
we
whatnot.
we'd beaten on Saturday actually against there.
All right then.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, you're right. They should potentially look at the importance of the game and the where the teams are and like kind of how influential
Yeah,
that
like,
is in the
I'm not
overall
one to say
picture.
that Queen's
But
Park are less
but
important, but it's like
but yeah, no. To be fair, beating. We'll get into a game later on, but I didn't have too many complaints about him.
but yeah, it's like with that, Rafe definitely missed an opportunity with St Johnstone dropping points as we go on to in a minute. But yeah, it's just like it does feel like maybe, oh god, is this going to be like that Dundee United season again where we're just second and we just refuse to take our chances? It was one where I think if that game finishes 2-2, no one complains. I don't really feel. I feel like it was one where it's like both teams deserve to win.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you a question, right? If you were offered second right now, you would bite my hand off for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, there you go. Then there you go. So yeah, the
Going
season with
into this
United
pub,
like was
it's like,
different because you
yeah, it's
had
like going into the pub
opportunities
and
and you
keep the
beat them a
fixtures.
couple of times. Yeah, yeah, I get it.
yeah, it's like going into this month and seeing the fixtures of Ayr and Thistle away, Dunfermline at home, and Queen's Park at home. And considering last season, I think it's like coming out of the first four with 7 points. I think is really good, and with that Thistle game, you could have got another one and maybe another three. But
Yep.
it is it's still a really good start from us. I'm quite happy with how we've gone about our start. And Thistle, they had a rough start with that 5-1 against St Johnstone, but they've definitely got their way going again.
Yeah,
So
I think I had Thistle when we did our predictions. I think I had them to finish fourth, and I felt as though the overall kind of sense of doom and gloom coming out of Firhill from Thistle fans was being wildly overstated, and I stand by that. They still have a team that is strong enough that they should be at the very least competing for the top four, and I maintain that they will be come the end of the season. I still think fourth is entirely reasonable for them.
yeah, that's very much the case. Yeah, it's like I think I had them fifth, but that was because I had us fourth, and it was like the top three was Saints, Ross County, and Ayr. And well, let's just say two of those teams have very much not had the starts that we've
Yeah,
expected.
yes, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, of course, I was going to put Reef above Thistle because I'm a Reef fan. I've got that
You know,
bias.
you're not going to give Kieran that satisfaction even
No,
before the
absolutely
season
not.
starts.
But yeah, it was a good game. It was a good game to, well, maybe not for the 90 minutes that I was there, but if you were a Thistle fan, it was a good game. Just in general, it was a good game. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah. Anyway, over to. Can
We'll move
tell
on.
I've been
We'll move
doing
on.
this for over a year, and I still have no idea what I'm doing at this point.
I feel as though, to be honest, like I can see in your eyes here that I think you're reliving the game a little bit, and that disappointment that you probably felt the
Yeah,
full time on Saturday is hitting you again.
that and fury.
Well, yeah,
I
anger
was
and
fuming
disappointment.
at
What a
full
combination.
time.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, moving on to um, the clash of the unbeaten. It was St Johnstone against Morton.
Yep.
St Johnstone were looking to continue their perfect start. Morton were looking to continue their Morton start. Of it was, and yeah, this one started off not how anyone would have expected.
No, probably
Um,
not. No.
Morton were the better team in that first half. I remember Cal saying in the chat, it's just like Morton have been the best team that have played against St Johnstone so far this season, and of course their only loss has been like right at the death at extra time against Motherwell in the League Cup. So I probably that tells you how good Morton were in that first half, and I will say it definitely looked like they could have got one or two conventional goals, but the one goal that they do get, my word.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenal strike. Obviously, I think most people listening to this will very likely have seen it back. Um, just one of those ones where if you have somebody who's capable of taking a pot from there, you have to trust them. Because if somebody who you know what it's like, yeah, you're at the game, somebody from the edge of the box takes a shot and it goes miles over the bar and everybody's screaming at him. But if you have somebody that can do it and they pull out a moment of magic like that once every 5 or 6 attempts, you just have to say fair enough, go for it. And that was it was a phenomenal strike. I have to say, right, so that's now I think Brophy's now scored 3 goals in his past 2 games, is that right?
That's three
Um
goals now.
yeah, I have to say there was quite a big part of me when they signed him who thought, right, that could be a good signing, but it could also be one of these guys who just it doesn't click and he ends up being a relatively high wage for a club like Morton, but not being worth it. But so far, he's obviously proven me to be a bit of an idiot because he's very clearly going to be at this stage anyway. There's a lot of football still to be played, but at this stage he's going to be in the runnings for one of the best strikers in the division. And he realistically should be given the career that the guy's had so far. But that he's probably not going to score too many like that. But if he can get 12, 14 goals this season, Morton will be in a good place because we all know what it's like. Finding guys who can put the ball in the back of the net is sometimes half the battle of being competitive in the championship. It's a difficult thing to it's really a difficult thing to bring in, and there are so many clubs that are desperate for it. And I'm sure there are probably about 3 or 4 clubs in the division, maybe even more than that, actually, who are still looking for a goal scorer. And if they've got that in Brophy, I know they've also got Adeloy. We don't know what he's like fitness wise. He can be a wee bit hot and cold. Whether he's. I think Adeloy, if he's fit, he's also a really good striker at this level. But Brophy looks as though he's going to be their main man. And if I were a Morton fan, I'd be very excited about what he's done so far.
Yeah, it's like we have seen countless times how it's like just one guy who can score goals will drag you up like 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, makes a big
Like
difference.
Thistle last season had Brian Graham, and well, for years Thistle had Brian Graham scoring nearly 20 goals every season.
Yeah.
There was that season of trying to think. There was a few years ago when Ayr got quite high up in the playoffs, and that was because of one guy, and I cannot remember his
Thinking of
name.
Akinyemi, Dipo Akinyemi.
Akinyemi, that's it. Akinyemi. I
And
think did
the
he not score?
same,
He scored over 20. I
he
swear
did.
he scored over 20
He
goals.
did, yeah. And the very same season as well, we were top of the league until we sold Simon Murray. And in January, Simon Murray had already scored, I believe, 16 league goals for us. We sold Simon Murray, and I legitimately believe that's what cost us the title that season. It
Aye,
makes it's a huge factor, a huge factor. Obviously, you still need to be quite robust all over the park. You need to, you can't be conceding 5 goals a game, right? Because even a great striker is going to get you an average of maybe 1 or 2 per week, and that would be a pretty phenomenal return. But it can be the difference maker. It really can.
yeah, it's like, as you say, it's like with Simon Murray costing you the title. Yeah, that's really what like it very much is what the difference is. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes because so far 3 goals from the last 2 games. That's pretty good return.
It is, yeah.
And yeah, he's tied second behind the one who would score later on this game, Josh McPeak. But yeah, the second half though was very much a game where Morton are leading. It was just like it was. This was Morton's highlights that I was watching. There was nothing. There was no attacking highlights from Morton in that second half. It was all St Johnston,
Yeah.
which is just just peak Morton.
But
He just
at the same
really
time, though, it's a testament to how well they defended and to Storer as well, who I think looks like a really solid pickup. The goalkeeper that they signed from Wolves, he's been possibly one of their better players so far this season. Because St Johnstone, we've seen, are capable of scoring quite a few goals. So to restrict them to just one and still come away with a point, ultimately is something that I know that yes, Morton fans will be going, look, we need to get our first 3 points on the board as soon as we possibly can, but at the same time, you're going to potentially the league champions. I know we're only 4 games into the season, but potentially the league champions, and taking away a point, you have to be. You can't really have too many complaints about that, especially
yeah,
when you're under a lot of pressure.
yeah. It's like the goal from McPeak's a good goal. It's a good finish, but it did come after just loads of chances for Saints, and
Yeah,
is it's like defending like that is not sustainable. But I don't blame him for. I do not blame Morton for doing it, especially against a side like St Johnston.
yeah. Good goal, as you say. Josh McPake, right? So obviously he's been fantastic for St Johnstone so far. So McPake obviously played for us for a season. I didn't particularly like the guy, but by all accounts he's matured a little bit and he's got his head in the game more than what he did when he was with us. When was that 22, 23 season? But it's really funny because if you look at the four, I think it's all four. Certainly three of the goals that he scored for St Johnstone. I don't know if I've seen the fourth one. Come with him essentially cutting onto his right foot and kind of putting it across the goal. I think at least three of them with St Johnstone, potentially all four, have been the exact same. He scored 3 goals for us as well. All three of them were the exact same. Now, I'm not calling him a one trick pony because he's obviously improved significantly since he played for us, but I do wonder if his goal return might start to cool down if defenders figure out how to stop him from cutting in onto his right foot when he brings it to the edge of the box. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm saying this when we play St Johnstone, he's probably going to do it like 6 times against us. So, but yeah, he's clearly, he's obviously, as I say, improved a lot since he played for us, and fair play to him.
It's as mentioned, it is a well-earned point, and it is the first points that Saints have dropped this season. But
Yep.
yeah, we're 4 games in, and Morton have got 4 draws. Like it is a very, very Morton start to their season. But yeah,
They'll
like
finish sixth.
you got to. It's like, I mean, it's just Lemons and Johnson that are unbeaten, so
Yeah.
it's like, fair enough. But yeah, they should probably try and get some. They'll probably get a win eventually. Hopefully, it's not next weekend, but
Well, they play
yeah,
us the following weekend, so we'll see.
we'll see what. But yeah, there's not really much else to talk about from that game. It was just a case of it was very even first half, and then Morton just batted down hatches as they usually do.
And it worked.
Yep, it got them a point. If you went into a game against St Johnson and you got offered a point, you're going to take it, especially
Yeah,
at
I think
McDermott.
definitely.
Another draw this time, meanwhile, but with a few more goals. Dunfermline, they hosted Ross County. This was County's first game after Don Cowie's departure.
So
And it was John Robertson was the interim?
it was, yeah, it was. So there's maybe one interesting thing to highlight before getting into a bit of detail about this, because obviously he scored one of the goals, is that late last week, Dunfermline signed Zach Rudden. And I
Yep.
know that you're not a particularly big fan of Zach Rudden. I probably appreciate him a little bit more than you. Um, I think Rudden, I mean, you, I get it because he didn't score many for Raith, did he? He was pretty
He scored
hopeless for
one.
you guys. One, okay.
One,
I mean,
maybe two.
I'm of the belief that Zach Rudden is a perfectly serviceable championship striker. At the
Yeah.
same time, I don't miss him. He scored, I think, 11 in the league for us last season, 15 in
It was
all
9 in the
competitions.
league.
9 in the league, was it? And 6 in all
Yeah.
competitions, 6 in the cups. Um, I mean, given that he essentially played every minute of every game since we didn't have any other strikers, and he frustrated a lot of our fan base just because of his kind of body language, and he just a lot of the time looks as though he really can't be arsed. Uh, as I say, I don't miss him, but at the same time, I think he's probably an all right pickup if he's not going to be your main man. Chris Kane should still be their main man. Obviously, we know that Kane is unlikely to play every single week, so I think Rudden's an all right option for them to have. Obviously, there's a question around how much money they've paid to bring him in as well. But I suppose we'll never actually know what the figure is there. But it's quite a weird one because obviously we allowed Zach Rudden to go for nothing because he was quite a high earner, and we were trying to shed some money from our wage bill this summer. So he went to Livingston, and now Dunfermline have paid some sort of fee. I don't know. Very very
The,
strange
the
set of
reported
circumstances.
fee, by the way, the reported fee, the number that I have seen was
Yeah,
£110,000.
I saw that as well, and I thought it was too
I
insane to
don't
be
think
true.
it'll be quite that high. However, the idea of Zach Rudden going for a 6-figure fee is really funny.
But do you know what? Like from a Livingston perspective, they probably should never have signed him in the first place because he's never going to be good enough to be a Premiership level striker. So ultimately, they've had the opportunity to say, do you know what? Whatever wages we've paid you so far, if you get a wee signing on bonus or whatever, let's recoup that and you can drop back down to the Championship. No bother at all, Zach. On you go. And that's probably pretty solid business from them. So
It is the
win,
greatest piece of business
win,
that Martindale's ever done
potentially high, potentially.
in any industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Rudden did. You know, you'll come on to talk about it, but he did have an impact in the game.
Yeah, but he managed to somehow. But yeah, Dunfermline, meanwhile, their last game was, of course, a Derby Day defeat. But Palace would manage to get the lead after 25 minutes. Chilcombe Mullen rebound from a corner, and but then Ronan Hale equaliser for County with what I must say is a really nice volley from the edge of the box to make it 1-1 going into half time. Second half, Dunfermline had a good few chances, but then, as mentioned, the £100,000 man, Zach Rudden, manages to flick the ball into the net to score in his debut. And despite Dunfermline having a vast majority of the chances until basically what felt like the last, by the looks of it, maybe like the last 10 minutes of the game, Ross County just came in just chance after chance after chance in those dying minutes, and then Ronan Hale again would get an equaliser right at the death. Really good finish again. Does make you wonder how on earth he's managed to stay at Ross County through this transfer window. But then you remember, I think he's got something like 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah, the reported. I did actually think, given that he scored another 2 goals at the weekend, and then you've got the deadline day like 2 days after that or something. I'm thinking because there'll be loads of clubs out there desperate for that sort of player. Somebody might bite at whatever the figure that County are looking for are. But the reports were that the club were asking for, I think, £1 million for him, which, given that he's an international footballer, he's proven himself in the Premiership, and he's got that lengthy contract, it's probably not an insane ask. But I do, if I were a betting man, I would be willing to wager that come the end of the season, Ronan Hale will be the top scorer in this division, potentially by some distance.
Yeah, and that's
Unless it goes in January.
what I was about to say. Unless he goes in January,
Yeah, which is still a
if,
possibility.
if he's having like a Simon Murray-esque season, then he'll be
Yeah,
away.
maybe.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised. I know there was a lot of talks about like Motherwell, I think, being
yeah.
interested. I'm surprised I didn't go for him, honestly, considering the amount of complaints I've seen from Gogsy about Motherwell's attacking impotence. But
I think it's the goalkeeper that they need to replace at this
oh
point.
yeah,
Listen,
goalkeeper as well. It's like striker and goalkeeper. It's like everywhere else is seemingly fine, but then those two are just like nah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like with this draw, Ross County, thanks to other results, have managed to get themselves off the bottom. And I'm looking at the table and I'm wondering how. But but yeah, that's them off the bottom, and they have got themselves a new manager. We were originally going to do this on Tuesday night, but thankfully we didn't, because that's when it was announced that Tony Docherty,
yep.
former Dundee man, is now the one in the dugout. This is a very sensible appointment,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It should be, because look, on paper, Ross County still have at worst the second best squad in this division. At absolute worst, potentially still the best squad in this division. I think, given that they have a couple of really outstanding players who should be excellent at this level. So I don't think you need the best manager in the world. You just need a sensible appointment. Now, I am a little bit surprised at some of the reactions to this. I agree with you that Tony Docherty is a sensible appointment. I don't think it's like a spectacular appointment, because I know that Dundee fans, yes, they'll be pining for him now that they're stuck with Stephen Pressley. I get it; they've downgraded massively, but at the same time, they were. I mean, they had a lot of complaints about Tony Docherty. Before he was eventually shown the door, they were complaining about how leaky their defence was. I think he handed out a few slightly dodgy contracts that they're going to be stuck with for a couple of years as well. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll do. At absolute worst, you'll have them in the top three come the end of the season. Absolute worst. St Johnstone will be good, but are they going to not drop points? Of course not. And we're 4 games into the season. Yes, the best time to have gotten rid of Don Cowie would probably have been before the season started at all. But the second best time is as soon as possible, and they've got so much time to turn this around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one to know about getting rid of managers at good time. Like, I mean, at least he lasted what, 3 games?
3 games, yeah. 4 games actually.
No, this was the fourth one.
Right, of course it was 3 games. Apologies, I
Yeah,
still better than the one
really
that
good.
Ian Murray was afforded last season at Raith.
Yeah, but yeah, it is one where, as you do say, it's like with Tony Docherty, it's like there was that case of how leaky that defense was.
Yeah,
I think I think Dundee did finish that season with the worst defense in the league, and
yeah,
there was multiple times where it's like they would take the lead and throw it away, which,
yeah.
as we have mentioned, Ross County have already done that a few times already this season. So, actually, come to think of it, that's a very fitting appointment.
Yeah, and at the same time, he was quite often bailed out by Simon Murray up front. Maybe now at County, he can be bailed out by Ronan Hill.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I am disappointed though that they didn't go with Derek Adams.
I mean, that would have been the
It would
hilarious
have been
option.
funny.
Yeah, or John Robertson given the gig permanent. Derek Adams for the media presence and all the absolute shit he talks would have been perfection. But
If he
I
thought
don't
the
know.
Premiership was bad,
Yes, I know, I know.
I think the Championship would have just ended them. But yeah, it's like for Dunfermline. Meanwhile, it's another draw. It's a fine result, and I do think it's like up until as mentioned like that around about like the last end period of the game, Dunfermline were unlucky not to win that. As terrible as it is for me to admit that, but yeah, Dunfermline did look the better side.
I mean, I'm still really unsure about Dunfermline. I can't place them. Like, I think yes, they look as though they have improved on last season. But to what extent, I'm not 100% sure. Like, are they going to be challenging for the top? I don't think they're going to be challenging. Come the end of the season, I still think they'll be closer to the relegation playoffs than the promotion playoffs. But I don't think they'll necessarily like they might be. There's usually one club every year in the championship that essentially has nothing to play for. Come the last couple of games of the season, it could end up being
It'll
Dunfermline.
be
I think.
Morton. They'll be like Morton.
Oh well, okay, potentially Morton. Yeah, yeah. I forgot they existed for a
Morton
second.
and Dunfermline can be friends in mid-table
Yeah,
mediocrity. That's
maybe
just,
they're playing each other in the last day of the season. Who knows?
yeah. They're just like, you just want to like forfeit this game, just like push it to the SFA. It's
Uh,
like nil
we'll
nil
just
draw. Can't
yeah,
be bothered.
we'll just all go on a wee night out, lads. Close it, shut the
Yeah.
ground.
Night out in Greenock.
I think I'd rather go on a night out in Dunfermline, and I'm not sure what that says really.
To be fair, anyway, it's probably better than Greenock. I see the sponsored training next week. This is going to come back to bite me so bad. But moving on, Enzo, it's time for your team. It is
Yes.
Ayr United against Queens Park. Ayr United
Yep.
and Queens Park, both sides who haven't quite got their season started yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the game first, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. I suppose. So obviously, it was. I know that Ayr haven't necessarily had the best start to the season, but I don't think I was overly optimistic going into this game, if I'm honest with you. Just because I expected that they probably would turn it around, but I actually thought on the day, having seen them played, because I didn't actually manage to watch them the first day of the season against Arbroath. I never caught that game on TV, so I only caught the highlights from that. But having watched them on Saturday, they were actually poorer than I expected them to be. I was surprised at how almost lightweight they looked up front. I mean, I think so. The game was for the first half. I think was fairly even. There weren't too many massive chances for either team. Then in the 33rd minute, I think it was, Josh McPake gets dragged to the ground, wins a penalty. It was one of those ones where no complaints from the Ayr players, no complaints from the Ayr fans. It wasn't anything malicious or anything like that. Just a silly foul to give away in the box. And he slots it home really nicely. And we managed to see it out to half time. I mean, Ayr had a lot of the ball, but they didn't really penetrate our defence too much. And I think for the most part, we defended fairly well. Especially, by the way, I want to give a lot of credit to he's playing right back on Saturday. Carlo Pignatello was fantastic. He was the best player on the park for me, and I think he actually got a spot in the SPFL Team of the Week as well as a result of his performance there. He was excellent, and he's been a really solid signing for us. So that's quite happy, and I'm quite happy with that. Um, we saw it out to half time. Then the second half, we sort of came into the game. We came out looking quite bright. We had one really, really good chance early doors. Seb Drozd, I think it was. Unfortunately, wasn't able to bid it. And I think if we'd gone 2-0 up, it would have been a totally different game. But then, after about 10 minutes into the game, we just sort of, I don't know, we invited a lot of pressure onto us. Not too dissimilar to the game that we had at Starks Park as well. Ayr weren't quite as good as I think Raith looked that day, if I'm honest with you. But similar
Thank
in
you.
that we were sitting back a lot and we were inviting a lot of pressure. I think we wanted to see the game out, but unfortunately, despite some valiant efforts, which by the way came with our team having a virus going around the camp, so Charlie Fox had to go off at half time because he just couldn't play anymore. Ewan Murray apparently. And at full time, despite having played the entire 90 minutes, he was brilliant, was thrown up in the changing rooms because he was so unwell. So they gave it their best shot, and then in the 83rd minute, it was just a bit of a kind of a shot that we've been blocking shots all day and it wasn't anything spectacular, but unfortunately it kind of hits off Matty Shields. Not his fault, not really anything he could do about it. Finds the back of the net. A really, really unfortunate goal to concede. And from there on out, I'm panicking a little bit. I think Ayr are probably going to win the game. But it doesn't happen. We see it out, come away with a draw. So I suppose my overall thoughts from a Queen's Park perspective, we've played three of our four games have been on the road so far, and we've drawn all three of them now. I'm really keen for us to get a win as soon as we possibly can. But at the same time, three away games, Raith, Ayr, and Airdrie. Airdrie less so than the other two, but Ayr and Raith, they're not necessarily easy places to go, and that'll I know that Ayr haven't had a great start, but that'll be proven, over the course of the season. Um, it's just that one result that we had at home against Arbroath where we conceded the three most ridiculous goals in the world, including two set pieces. But I'm still cautiously optimistic about our season. Like I'm not anywhere near in panic mode yet. I think we've got a team that works incredibly hard, and that is just compared to what we had in the second half of last season, where we had a squad primarily made up of loanees. I think we went into one game where we had like seven loanees in our starting 11, guys who really just looked as though they didn't really want to be there. So having a team that's fighting for every ball, that's just putting in 100% every week is something I'm really really pleased to see. And ultimately, if the season doesn't quite go to plan, but that effort is there, then I'm just going to. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to be too disappointed by that, especially given all the budget cuts and things like that. Josh Fowler really, really excites me. Now, this obviously includes the League Cup games so far, but he's scored now 7 goals in 8 games for us. And for a guy who, before obviously a wee spell abroad in Dubai and wherever it was, he played in Australia briefly too. For a guy who'd only ever played for Beath Juniors before in Scotland, he's stepped up very, very nicely. Such an intelligent player. He did so well to win that penalty in the first place, and then to slot it away nicely, brilliant. So yeah, given again that there was the kind of the sickness going around the camp, Mikey Ruth is injured as well. That's 2 games in a row he's missed for us, even though him and Fowler have a really brilliant partnership up front. Overall, am I a little bit frustrated that we haven't won a league game since we beat Raith 4-0 at Starks Park, like at 2/3 of the way through last season? Yes, I am. Interestingly, that was where our streak of not winning any more games started after that, and I think your undefeated streak started the week after that as well.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
We've been unbeaten since that game.
yeah, and we haven't won any games since that game. So I'm not worried yet. I think we'll be fine. I just think Sean Crichton's still learning a lot about his players, and having a virus going around is certainly not going to help anyone. Ayr, on the other hand, I know that they've got injuries right now too. I know that they're missing a few players. Um, I have to say though, and this is just again from my sort of Queens Park perspective, they brought Dom Thomas on in the second half, and I was okay. So he put the corner in that ultimately led to the goal, um, but his corners were really poor, and I thought he was rubbish. I was really surprised, and I can sort of see why the week before that he didn't get any time off the bench at all. I just thought they lacked any real grit or fight when they were going forward. I thought Ure that they have on loan from Celtic, I thought he was really poor, but Bonner that they also have from the same cooperation agreement, I thought he was actually very, very good in the middle of the park. Um, I'm just not. I'm not sure what to make of them. I think I don't know if it's just like Scott Brown making lots of changes and he's not sticking with the same formation. The players aren't really learning how to play the way he necessarily wants to. But I do feel quite strongly. I think the season will turn around eventually, and I think they'll maybe make a kind of push for the top four. I don't think they're going to be in any risk of finishing below fifth or sixth at absolute worst. Um, but I also suspect that is going to come with Scott Brown losing his job eventually.
Yeah, it's like you were saying about Dom Thomas there. Is that I actually had to look up to see if he actually played against Rafe because I don't remember him doing anything.
Yeah,
But
yeah, he's don't know,
yeah, it's like
strange.
as we mentioned last week about how it's like Queens Park just didn't have the luck. It just seems like the way you're describing that game with like the virus and then an own goal. It's just very Queens Park at the moment.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just, I mean, we not that I'm not that I'm counting or anything like that, but we haven't won a league game, and I think it's 80, 85, 86 calendar days or something, and it'd have been lovely to hold on Saturday, but ultimately, as I say, like I like the fact that this team's digging in so much, and we've had 3 tough-ish away games. We've not lost any of them yet, and that counts for something. We do need to start winning games though.
I was gonna say it's like it would be funny if it's like you got that you go all the way back to that 4-0 win at Starks, and it's like we go on this unbeaten run and it ends at Partick this weekend, and you go on like a winless run and it ends at Ayr this
Well,
weekend.
I was
It would
thinking
have
the
been
exact same
perfect
thing.
symmetry.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the exact same thing. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But I have to say, I can understand the frustration from Ayr. As I say, they do have players missing. They do have injuries, and that is, of course, absolutely relevant in how they're performing. But it's quite evident that Scott Brown has been well backed by the Ayr chairman, Ayr board. I'm not entirely sure how they operate. And I think it's reasonable that they probably should be expecting a little bit more than what they've seen so far. I'm just not sure what it's going to take for them to achieve that.
Yeah, it does make you wonder. It's like when you did say about how it's like Ayr was surprisingly poor in your eyes, and it was just like that's pretty much what I've been saying like every podcast so far.
Yeah.
Is just like this isn't the Air United that we all thought we were going to get.
I mean, you had some people who were predicting them as an outside bet to potentially even win the league.
And no,
That's
not happening, is
I
it?
don't think that's going to happen now. I can't see that.
Yeah, it's like trying to think. They're still winless, aren't they? Yeah, there's just yeah, yep, Air in the bunch of teams that are winless
Yeah.
still.
There's a few of us still.
Yeah.
4 of us, I think, are there? 5?
Four teams: Morton, Ayr, Queens Park, Ross County, and Airdrie. Who
Yeah.
I suppose we should get onto now because
Yes, we should.
They were away to Arbroath, and Arbroath have had an impressive start, better than what many of us expected. And Airdrie, meanwhile, they hired their manager as well. They brought in Danny Lennon.
Who I
Callum.
called last week on the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Did
just
say,
it's like when you it's like when you said, "Oh, yeah, there's been this rumor about Danny Lennon coming." I was like, "Danny Lennon, he's not managed for about 3 years, and his last job was at Clyde
yep,
down in League Two." So it was a very left field shout. So
yeah.
it's like very much a surprise that he's the one
I
who's
mean,
got the job.
it screams of panic to me. They've realised that nobody, because obviously there was the chat about McKay having left because he potentially fell out with the board over lack of funding and not really getting the support this transfer window that he was expecting, especially after bringing in a significant fee for Ben Wilson in this appointment. Look, I don't think when McPake left, anybody at Airdrie would have had Danny Lennon in their possibly even top 10 choices for the job, realistically. And I think maybe the calibre of applicant that they got just wasn't up to what they were expecting, and they panicked a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like that. Where it's just like, is that really the best they could have got? So it is probably it's like a few edgy fans that I see on Twitter where they are worried. They're worried about this.
I think they should be based on how this game at the weekend went as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like with this one, um, first half was very scrappy from both teams, and second half was pretty much all our proof. It
Yeah.
was just it's like Edgery came close once or twice in the first half. There was one where I think it was Mockery tried to lob the keeper, but aside from that, they did not threaten at all. And Arbroath eventually got the lead through that man, Nikolai Todorov, who I slagged off at the beginning of the season.
I did as well, by the way. I didn't think he was going to be anywhere near as effective as what he has been so far for them, but fair play to the guy.
Nah, it's just because of that Aki spell. I
Yeah,
mean, all the other times he's been decent in the championship, aside from that Aki spell.
yeah, that's fair.
And I also have I already have like a level of hatred towards Todorov because of other teams and him always scoring against us, which again made that Aki spell really funny. But yeah, it's like he's had a decent start so far.
Could be as well. Sometimes you find guys. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what age Todorov is. Is he in his early 30s now? Potentially, not entirely sure. But you
I think
sometimes
so. Yeah,
find that guys
it's been
drop
about a
into
while.
this. Yeah, you sometimes find the guys dropping down in that part-time training schedule can sometimes have a really positive impact on them as well. And he might very well be an example of someone that just works for.
And yeah, it's like with Todorov's goal, I think it was. I think from the highlights, it might have been the first shot on target in that entire game.
Well, I know that Airdrie only had one shot in the entire game. I'm not entirely sure, and that wasn't on target. So I'm not entirely sure about Arbroath's overall tally. But from the
And
highlights,
I think Arbroath had 3 in total, and they came after the goal. I think so.
yeah,
Although there was one where it's like a free kick came into the box and was saved by the keeper. I'm not sure if that got counted as a shot on target, but
okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, fair play to Arbroath. At the end of the day, they've picked up another 3 points, and they've had a probably better start than I think. Certainly better than I thought, but probably better even than the majority of our Arbroath fans would necessarily have been expecting. But I have to say, you have to. Well, I suppose this depends on your perspective on it, but you have to worry a little bit for Airdrie because from those highlights and from what I read Airdrie fans saying online, they were they were terrible on Saturday. And the thing is, you watch the you watch the clips back, and it looked as though the Airdrie players were allergic to playing football, to running with the ball at their feet, and it's just the antithesis of how Reece McCabe had them playing for long spells. Um, and the fact that this is how Lennon's come in and decided that he wants to adapt the team. I don't know if maybe it's him still learning what the guys he's got are capable of doing. I know that they've brought in Charlie Telfer, isn't it? So he might be. I mean, Telfer's objectively a good signing in the championship, so maybe he'll help with that link up play between the defence and the midfield. But they looked absolutely terrible on Saturday, and given I don't think many people expect that Danny Lennon's going to prove to be a particularly shrewd appointment. I think it's fair for them to be a little bit nervous about how this season's going to go.
yeah, so I've got written down in my notes here about how it's like it was scrappy and there was not a lot of quality, and I felt
Yeah.
like watching a League One game. That's what.
Well, yeah, yeah. That's probably a reasonable way of putting it. And I don't know if Airdrie's squad is necessarily. I was going to say I don't know if it's the worst in the league. I mean, some people might think they're poorer, but I personally believe it is the worst in the league, and I think I had them to finish bottom when we did our predictions before the season started.
Mm.
And I just I don't see it with them, and at least before there was the McCabe factor. Everybody knows that McCabe's a clever young manager who's dug himself out of holes before. But now they've replaced him with Danny Lennon. I think they're going to really struggle. I really do.
All I'm hoping for is that they just don't still have this hoodoo over us.
It's horrible, that isn't it? When you've got a team that
I
you just
know.
can't beat regardless.
Agent Danny Lennon.
Well, that's it. Yeah, he's a Raith legend. He was part of the Bayern Munich team, wasn't he?
He was with us for the kit launch for the
That's
away kit.
right. Aye, I
He's the one
saw
who
that.
scored in
Yeah.
Munich, hence why he was there for the kit launch.
Yeah, I will say. I mean, I thought he spoke really well in his interview when he first got announced as Airdrie manager. And it's one game. You know, he's not been there for long enough, so it could be that maybe I'm being slightly harsh and potentially overreacting a little bit. But as I say, I can understand why Airdrie fans might be feeling a little bit worried at this stage.
Yeah, there definitely is cause for concern, especially with the fact they are bottom. And speaking of, we shall have a look at the table. Table time. Top remains St Johnstone. They're now on 10 points. Second place, it is a three-way tie with 3 teams on 7 points. Raith are second thanks to their goal difference of +2. Arbroath are sitting there pretty in third with a goal difference of 0. And then Partick Thistle are up to fourth with a -1 goal difference. Obviously, the 5-1 at McDermott not helping there.
No,
Fifth place is Dunfermline with 5 points. Sixth place is Morton with 4 points from 4 draws, with 4 goals scored and 4 goals conceded. They're still continuing the Morton run. Below them, it is Ayr and Queens Park, with Ayr having -1 goal difference, Queens Park -2, and then tied ninth, and both with not -3 points, Jesus.
minus 3 points already.
We've not had any points deductions yet.
Not yet. It's a matter of time. Let's be honest.
Yet. Things can
Hamilton are up to
happen.
some nonsense, so I know
Oh,
they're not in
God.
this division, but that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, both with -3 goal difference. Oh, I see why. Oh, it's because Ross County have scored 5 goals and Airdrie have scored 3. Yeah, there we go. It's goals scored that's separating them. Ross County are up to 9th and Airdrie are sitting bottom. And for the fixtures next week, I never thought I would have to utter these sentences. Due to international call-ups, we have a reduced programming.
Yeah.
There are 2 games.
I know. I think it's so 3 international call-ups, and you're allowed to request that the game gets called off. And I don't blame any team who takes that opportunity. And as I say, I was a little bit frustrated about our game this weekend being called off. But ultimately, if it's true that there's a bit of a virus going around the team, and we've got guys like Michael Ruth out, then actually I'm all right with that. So we'll see. But yes, it's very surprising to see 3 games being called off because of it.
Yeah, it was good. Trying to think. So yeah, it's like Partick Thistle were meant to play Queens Park, and Thistle had 3 players called up:
That's
2
right.
for
Yeah.
Scotland under 21s and 1 for Ireland under
Northern
21s.
Ireland, Josh Clark get called up for Northern Ireland. That's right. Yeah, the
Aye,
goalkeeper.
that's in Northern Ireland. St Johnstone aren't playing. Well, I mean, the games that are on are Ross County against Arbroath
Yep.
and Greenock Morton against Raith Rovers. But we've only got the one international call up, and it's for Richard Chin, who is off for the Malaysian
I
national
saw
team.
that. Yeah, that's very cool. To be fair, like because normally when you get an international call up at the championship, I mean, we had one, and it's for Scotland under 19s. But normally that's the kind of thing you expect. But to get something a bit left field like Malaysia, there's something quite cool about that.
Yeah, from what I remember, Richard Chin is actually so. There's like the only other trying to think, the international call ups that I remember for Raith. You got Frankie Musonda for Zambia.
Zambia, that's right. Yeah. He was always away
Uh,
on international duty.
Ice. Oh, Ice. Air aren't playing, so that might be one. Who else have we had in the past? Frankie Musonda. No, I've just said Musonda. Fernandi Mendy, that's it. He ended up with Guinea-Bissau, I believe. Marvin Andrews with Trinidad. Harry Panayotu with St. Kitts. So usually it is from like these lesser African and Caribbean nations that we end up
Yeah.
getting people called up for. So to have someone for uh, like Southeast Asia is definitely something different. But with Richard Chin, he's also I think what is it? So it's like he's born in England, but it's like obviously one of his parents is Malaysian, but I think the other one is from the Seychelles.
All right. Okay. So he's
So
potentially
that would have
eligible
been that
for.
would have been an interesting one.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I guess Malaysia. I mean, I realise neither is exactly a powerhouse of international football, but maybe Malaysia are slightly better. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I need to check the FIFA rankings for that
Check the
one.
world rank, check the world rankings. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, you best believe that I have got the Malaysian national team like starring on flash scores just to.
Who are they playing?
I believe one of their games is against Palestine, and
Okay.
who was the other one against? Malaysian national team. Is it Singapore? Singapore's the other one.
Okay. I've,
They'll
so I've
beat
just
Singapore. Singapore don't have a good national team. I hope Chen gets to play in that. And honestly, if Chen scores, I'll go mental.
I've just
I'll be
had a look.
very
So
happy.
so Malaysia are currently ranked 125th in the world, one place above Estonia and one place below Sierra Leone. For context, you've got other teams run about there like Cyprus, Azerbaijan. So I mean, it's not like we're not talking, you know, San Marino levels of poor.
They play
Whereas
in
the
Nations League
Seychelles,
speed.
yeah, whereas the Seychelles are 203rd, so they are just ahead of Liechtenstein. So he's probably chosen quite wisely there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like as mentioned, it's just Ross County against Arbroath and Morton against Raith. We will be back for it. We're not slouches. We don't take weeks
A
off.
wee 10-minute
Occasionally,
podcast, maybe.
occasionally we take weeks off, but yeah, we will be back for those ones. And yeah, I guess anything else you want to say?
Not at all. No, I have to say I really hope Scotland win as well because we've got some big
Oh, of
international
course,
games
we got
coming up.
Denmark. We got Denmark Friday and Belarus on Monday.
That's right. Yeah, Denmark's going to be a tough one. I think if we're going to pick up 3 points anywhere, I would imagine it'll be Belarus. I'm not sure I would necessarily be banking on either of them, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's just hope for win against Denmark, win against Morton, win against Belarus. I'll be happy. But yeah, that'll be us for this week. So bye.
Thanks.